Time to learn useEffect. Let's look at the following code. We have two states, post ID and post. The post ID's initial state is 1. We have two buttons to change the value of post ID. We are also displaying the post content. Since its initial state is undefined, we are displaying nothing. Our goal is to call an API whenever we change the post ID and display it in our page. This is where useEffect comes in. Let's add it to our code. The useEffect is a React hook that takes two arguments. The first argument is called setup function. The second argument is called dependency array and it is optional. Right now, when I refresh the page, we can see the console log. In development mode, React will call the useEffect setup function 2 times for debugging reasons. useEffect is working a bit different than a normal JavaScript function. If we add one console log before the useEffect and one after it, what will be the call order? When I refresh the page, we can see that before useEffect and after useEffect logs appear first. This is because of React's component lifecycle. React first renders the whole component, then calls the useEffect setup function. We said that the dependency array is optional. What happens if we remove it? Whenever I update the state, the setup function is called. Normally, this is not something we want. If we leave the array empty, this means that this function will be called only in the initial render. We see the console log only one time even though the post ID state is changing. If we add an item to dependency array, the function will be called only when that value changes. When I click the button, new console logs are not appearing because we are not changing the post state, we are changing the post ID state. Let's change post with post ID. Now when I click the button, we can see the console logs. Let's call an API whenever post ID changes. First, replace the console log with fetch. We will be using dummy JSON service. When we fetch the data, we first convert it to JSON and then console log it. When I refresh the page, we can see the product in console. Right now when I change the post ID, we are still getting the same product. This is because we are always fetching the first product. Let's make it dynamic with template string. Now each time I click the next button, a different product appears on console. Lastly, we have to use setPost function so that the product appears on the page. As you can see, whenever the post ID changes, we fetch a product and display it on the screen. Now that we have the fundamentals, let's look into some advanced stuff. If ESLint is installed on your project, when you remove the post ID from dependency array, you will see a warning. It says that we must put post ID to dependency array because we are accessing it in our setup function. Let's look another example. We extract our base URL and put it in a variable. When we hover on the dependency array, it is saying that base URL is missing. We can hide this error by clicking the quick fix and then disable for this line. However, it is not preferred way to hide the warnings like this. The deeper problem is that we have a constant in our components. The better way to get rid of this warning is by moving base URL outside the component. Be careful when you are using useEffect or you might create an infinite loop. Let's look at the following example. We have a new state called isTurboMode. Its default value is false. We are updating its state by clicking this button. When we update it, we want to increase post ID by 5. However, there is something wrong with our useEffect. Can you detect it? When I click the button, I see maximum update depth exceeded error on console log. This is because we created an infinite loop in our useEffect. When we set isTurboMode to true, the useEffect is triggered. Then setPostID is called. When setPostID is called, the post ID value is changed. Since post ID is listed in the dependency array, the useEffect is triggered again. This continues forever until our app crashes. There is an easy way to fix this. As we learned from my previous video, we can use the updater function. When we use the updater function, we don't have to add post ID to our dependency array. As a result, the useEffect will be triggered only when isTurboMode changes. Until this moment, I haven't talked about one trick useEffect has, which is cleanup function. Let's look at our example. In our setup function, we can return another function. This function is called cleanup function. It is called right before the next render happens. When I click the button, first our cleanup function is called with the previous post ID. Then our next setup function is called with the updated post ID. But where should we use this cleanup function? To understand it, let's look at the following example. We have a state called isVisible and a button. The button toggles the isVisible state. If isVisible is true, we show the timer component. Let's look at the timer component. We have a time state and it is rendered on the page. We also have a useEffect function and its dependency array is empty. This means that the setup function is called only one time. We are calling setInterval function which increases the time by 1 second. There is a problem with this code. Can you detect it? When I click the toggle timer button, we see that the time is increasing by 2 every second. When I destroy the component, we can see that setInterval is still working. This leads to memory leak, which is bad for performance. Let's fix this by adding a cleanup function. In our cleanup function, we are calling clear interval. When this component is destroyed, it will no longer call the function inside the set interval. Now, when I click the button, we can see that the time is increasing by 1. When I click again to destroy the component, we no longer see set interval working. With these, you should be comfortable using useEffect in your components. If you have a question, leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe as I have 3 at the moment. Thanks for watching.